Good morning, fellas, and welcome back to Me Plays Games, where we play games. My name is Matt, and in the last speedrun video I did on this channel, we went over all the speedrun tech used in the new Super Mario Bros world record. That video turned out great, and I had a lot of fun researching the game and interacting with members of the speedrun community, so I decided to jump straight into the sequel, New Super Mario Bros Wii. The 90% world record in this game belongs to an American runner named Pidgey, with a time of 22 minutes 15.6 seconds. He also helped me a ton with this video, leaving a boatload of great information for me on YouTube and Discord, so be sure to show him some love and subscribe to his channel, link in the description. Today, we're gonna look at the techniques that were required to get such a good run. For more speedrunning videos, gaming discussions, and Let's Plays, subscribe to Me Plays Games and leave a comment letting me know which Mario game I should cover next. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. Alright, let's get started. What better level to start the video on than the first one? In World 1-1, one thing you need to do is collect a propeller mushroom. The fastest way to do this is by hitting the checkpoint, which turns you into Super Mario, then ground pounding this question block to reveal your prize. Unlike the original New Super Mario Bros, which I'll refer to as New Soup from this point on, the propeller mushroom is the only power-up that'll be used in this run besides stars, because it'll be important in 1-3 as well as multiple levels each in World 5 and 8. In New Soup, we see good use of both the Fire Flower and the Blue Shell, but in New Soup Wii, the propeller is the only one we'll be using. There are two drawbacks to the propeller mushroom. For one, in most horizontal levels, it's slower to use it to traverse through them than just running through normally, so it'll only be used in a few cases, which I'll point out as we go along. The other drawback is that getting the power-up takes away Mario's mid-air spin move and replaces it with a propeller boost, which means that there's less room for error during regular platforming sections. Regardless, it comes in handy in plenty of places, so it winds up saving time overall anyway. Throughout 1-2, there are these platforms that you can move by tilting the Wii Remote. Pidgey will be tilting most of them down to give Mario a slope to slide down, which is usually faster than running, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. In his own words, gentle slopes, anything under 45 degrees, are faster to slide down, which is why in levels like 1-2, you'll see me tilt the platforms ever so slightly to get a much smaller slope with it. Any slope that is 45 degrees or more, however, aren't used at all. Both sliding and running down them is slower than either jumping over it or by whatever other means to get by each one. Another thing that happens in this level is that he goes slightly out of his way to hit this brick block, revealing a star. Like we saw when we went over New Soup. The star also makes you run slightly faster in New Soup Wii, making the extra time spent to grab it worth it in the end. Next up is World 1-3. Normally, if you want to get the secret exit, you're meant to use Yoshi to get up above the level, but since Pidgey has a propeller, he can use that instead, saving the extra time it would take to mount Yoshi. Once again, this secret exit unlocks a cannon that skips the entirety of Worlds 2-4 and takes you straight to World 5. Pidgey gets a star from this roulette block in World 5-1 and then uses it to bulldoze his way past the checkpoint and onto these vines. The best way to get past these vines is by letting go of the D-pad when you jump off of them. Later on is this water section. Since he has the propeller, he can use it to fly up to this platform, skipping the need to make it over here slowly using the paddle wheel. On the map of World 5, there are spiky bramble vines that block certain pathways, which forces Pidgey into an enemy skirmish with this piranha plant. Well, sorta. It's technically possible to avoid this level, but you need a star to bowl the plant over in the world map, and the only way to get one at this point would be the Toad House in World 1. But since that would require completing 1-3 twice, it's much slower than just doing the enemy level. After completing this short level, you're presented with a fork in the road. For a while, no one was sure whether 5-2 or 5-3 was faster, but eventually it was determined that 5-3 was the better level to go for, even though it's harder because Bramballs are the worst thing in the universe. There's a really cool strat here in 5-3 that's based on the game's music. The new Super Mario Bros series is infamous for its music and the bop bop sounds that go with it, but it actually works to Pidgey's advantage here. This Koopa Troopa stops to dance to the music for a split second, which lines him up perfectly for Mario to hit this block to make the Koopa super easy to jump on. Then Pidgey grabs its shell and uses it to kill the Bramball. When you get to this log, it's actually fastest to wall jump off this block and over the 6-block high wall as opposed to flying over it. Like New Soup, the fastest way to accelerate to top speed after exiting a pipe is by wall jumping off of it, and next up is one of the most difficult levels in the run. In World 5's tower, there are moving spiked walls that cycle slowly back and forth. Getting to the top of the tower on the fastest possible cycle is a technique known as 5-5-6, referring to the amount of seconds that should be left on the in-game timer when you enter the boss door. For years, it was thought that the fastest you could get up here was with 546 seconds left on the clock, but eventually a player named Ochgard became the first player to finish the level one cycle faster in a run in 2016. People have actually gotten good enough at it that it's actually possible to finish with 557 seconds left on the clock, as Pidgey does here. This is another place where the propeller comes in handy. It's required for 5-5-6. The boss fight with Iggy is pretty straightforward, then it's on to another brutal level. In World 5-4, you're normally meant to ride a raft through the level to the end. Not only does it move painfully slowly, but it also comes to a complete stop if there are more than 5 enemies or coins on it. Once again, we'll be using the propeller to perform a trick called 5-4 skip. With a series of careful propeller boosts and wall jumps, it's possible to get all the way to the end of the level without the raft. Another thing to note about this level is that the enemy's movement is a little bit difficult to predict because once again, they stop to dance to the background music, so if you're a little faster or slower than normal, the patterns will be a tad bit different. Here's a fun bonus before we move on to the next level. The individual level speedrun, or IL for short, features an even faster version of Fast 5-4 called Bombful, where you can use 3 bombs falling from the sky at the end of the level to bounce all the way to the pipe. Look at this nonsense. Next up is the Ghost House, which features another secret exit. There's not too much to write home about here, but I'm convinced that I have no guts whatsoever, because Pidgey just jumps in between the boos and the Spoo Ring, and those suckers are the bane of my existence. This exit unlocks another cannon that takes you directly to World 8. Unlike New Soup's 12-level gauntlet of a final world, New Soup Wii's only has 5 mandatory levels, but there's still plenty of difficult stuff in World 8. First up is 8-1, a similar level to 8-8 in New Soup in that it features volcanic debris falling from the sky at random. Fun. Fortunately, this level isn't nearly as much of a run killer as the last game, because the patterns are all pretty easy to deal with. Pidgey calls the one he got in his world record the worst one, but even then it's just a fraction of a second lost because he had to slow down a little bit. In this level, you'll also see Pidgey grab a Buzzy Beetle shell. This is because he needs to use the propeller to get over this lava geyser, but falling back to the ground takes a long time after spinning up with the propeller. But with this new strat called Shell Boost, throwing the shell cancels the propeller falling animation and switches back to Mario's regular, faster falling speed. This level also features a couple of points where you want to intentionally take damage, since it's faster to just barrel through the lava geysers and take care of the third-degree burns later. So for the next few levels, Pidgey doesn't have the propeller, but let's take a look at 8-2. There's another secret exit that skips 4 levels and potentially an enemy level. This block after the checkpoint contains a star, which Pidgey carries all the way to this pipe. A small optimization in this room and throughout the rest of the level is known as crouch boosting, where you can preserve your run speed despite the rolling hills moving in the opposite direction by crouching, jumping, then releasing the crouch before you land. This is also the way to the secret exit, which unlocks the secret level 8-7. It's important to pick up a mushroom here for later while riding on the bone coasters. This level is more or less an auto-scroller on steroids, so you can pretty much do whatever you want here. Collect all the red coins? Sure, why not? Oh. Next up is the Airship, where there are a few things to note right off the bat. There are these screws you can turn to move platforms around, but you'll want to spend as little time on them as possible. You also get the propeller back in this level, which will save time here and in Bowser's Castle. At the end of the level, Pidgey spins upwards, then immediately drills down straight into the pipe, which is faster than simply ground pounding. In the fight against Bowser Jr., you're normally supposed to ground pound on the ground to bounce the bomb so he drops back up at him. But eventually, it was discovered that there's just enough space above Bowser Jr. to ground pound him directly while his clown car is at its lowest point. This trick is known as bombless, and if you do this trick for the first and second hits, then ground pound to send the bomb he dropped back at him, that's a strat called coding double bombless, and it saves a whopping 20 seconds. There are other ways to do bombless, like hitting Bowser Jr. normally for the first hit, then doing double bombless for the second and third hits, but coding double bombless is the fastest because of the bomb he drops, making for a quick third hit. Another bonus tidbit before we move on and talk about Bowser's Castle: halfway through this airship, there's a pipe that you can only enter if it's pointing straight up. Otherwise, you have to wait for it to swing back around. You'll notice that Pidgey just barely misses the cycle and has to wait for it to rotate 7 times to enter. And you might be wondering if it's possible to save the 10 seconds it takes for it to come back around, and the answer is unfortunately no, but it is possible in multiplayer. As he says in this comment, you are however able to make this pipe cycle in co-op, and is even using the world record as seen here. This works because if you have one player on the left side of the screen, the camera locks further in that direction, which then makes the pipe load on screen later. This gives you just enough time to barely make it in. If it was somehow possible to make it there in single player, it would save about 10 seconds, give or take. On to Bowser's Castle. This level is long, but there isn't too much to write home about before the final boss fight, so just scream to the heavens that these fireball cycles suck and head off to fight Bowser. And yep, the fireballs in this chamber are random. Great. As you might imagine, the fastest way to finish this first phase is by flying straight over Bowser to the switch. Game over. Never mind. During the final chase sequence, Pidgey sticks to the lower level so that Bowser will keep breathing fireballs in a straight line. One last thing before we go. If you go on speedrun.com and look at the leaderboards, you'll notice that there are 2 times listed per run, one with loads and one without loads. This is because different consoles' disk drives will load levels and world maps faster than others, so it functions as a way to level the playing field. If load times were included, the second place runner Fade Vanity would actually have the world record, since his disk drive is significantly better than Pidgey's. Since load times are out of the player's control, the times without outloads are calculated and used to rank times on speedrun.com. Well, there it is, fellas, every speedrun technique in New Super Mario Bros Wii. It's been so awesome seeing the positive feedback from these game speedrun communities on these videos, and I can't thank them enough for pointing out my mistakes, answering my questions, and showing me new stuff I didn't even notice. This is what I love about speedrunners. They're so passionate about the games they play and the things they do. If you haven't already, check out Connor01's video about the world record history of this game, because I did pull quite a bit of info from there as well. Be sure to subscribe to Me Plays Games if you'd like to see more of this type of content. I'll see you all in the next one. Good night, fellas. Sleep well.